Hey guys, and welcome to the little intro section we have before every single hatecast. Now, in the midst of recording this episode, I was in the middle of battling a chest cold that has since gotten a little bit better, and I'm still on the mend. I'm down in bone broth like crazy. I'm doing all the good things to help myself recover. One of those includes what I had mentioned in the episode, which is heat. Specifically heating your body temperature up via external methods like hot showers, sauna, stuff like that. And when I was going over that stuff, I didn't exactly explain why and what they did. So I'm going to go ahead and go into that in deeper detail in another hatecast, as well as link some references down in the description box below and kind of give a little explanation on it, because I really didn't go over it very well in the actual episode, although we did cover sleep pretty well, so it's still worth a listen. With that being said, there will be another part onto this recovery hatecast. We just ran short on time, and my voice ran short on voice. So, it's still a great listen. Like I said, guys, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're listening on SoundCloud, I will also try and include the links. I'm getting the hang of editing there, or uploading there, so let me know if I do miss anything, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to another episode of the Hatecast, if my voice can keep this up. I apologize in advance for the hacking and coughing. I do have a little bit of a chest cold. Now,
there is a mute button, buddy. There is a mute button.
Fuck the mute button. This is live. Right. This is raw.
Yeah, just cough right in their ear. Fuck them.
This is fucking raw. But anyway, we are on SoundCloud now, guys. So just before we start the show, I would like to remind you to go check that out and go ahead and toss us a follow. Whenever you follow or subscribe to this channel, it lets us know that we're doing a fantastic job and to keep it up. If you don't subscribe, how are we to know? So go ahead and give us subscriptions. Please. It helps us on YouTube's, please. But, with that being said, I'm in the midst of a little chest cold, so I thought it would be appropriate to talk about recovery.
All right, actually, let's do it.
I think that's the first good segue that I've had.
That actually was an excellent segue. I will, because usually you just bust the Daniel Tosh ones. You're like, nope, we're subject switch, and you just go.
Without the laugh tracks. But
Daniel Tosh doesn't have laugh tracks. Don't insult the man.
No, he just has people that he pays to come in and be his virtual laugh track.
Oh, I don't watch Tosh.0. I was just talking about his stand-up.
Oh. Anyway, but with that being said, speaking of things that make no sense, foam rolling.
Oh, for
what are your
fuck's
thoughts on?
Sweet sake.
We have to go over it. I know.
So I posted a picture a while back. It was maybe a month ago. I just randomly stumbled across a picture of this little. He was Belgian, a little Belgian guy. He didn't weigh 150 pounds. I think it was in the 140s. He was doing a hack deadlift with 651 or something like that.
Okay.
And it was like in 1952.
Makes sense.
I don't know the exact the chronology of the invention of the foam roll, but I am 100% certain that it did not exist for that man's lifetime or the 50 years after it. So or like the 50 years of his 50 years after his career there. So I'm going to go ahead and say, if you foam roll, you're a bitch, and you're busy doing things you probably don't need to do. Really, anything else would be better than that, including deep tissue massage. And the people who advocate for foam rolling ought to be drug out in the street and shot in the fucking face. That's not to put too fine a point on it. Yeah. But I think pussies and death. I think that pretty well sums it up.
The only exception is if you're a man over 40 and you decide you want to get good crack out of your back. I don't think rolling once or twice is going to hurt you. But at the end of the day, most people who waste their time, in my opinion, doing this 45 minutes before they work out and then 45 minutes after they work out. Sometimes I even see dudes at the gym doing mid-set. What the fuck is that about?
It's even more annoying than the guys, because for a while everybody was like trying to P90X the fuck out of their workouts. They were busy doing stupid shit in between their sets, like at crunches and whatever. That shit, it just always annoyed me. But I mean, if you're doing fucking wrist rollers or something in between sets of calf raises, fine. You're hitting some extra shit. But when you're busy doing all this dumb shit that doesn't really accomplish anything just so you look like you're working hard, I get the fuck out of my gym.
Yeah. And there's this great joke, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but if you try and push the envelope, it'll still be stationary. Sometimes people try, and that was a pun. Sometimes people will try. Yeah. People will try and throw in new things into their routine, almost like spices on a piece of chicken, spices on their beef, and most of the time, I will tell you that they just don't work out. And foam rolling, from what I have seen, what I have experienced, what I have learned about talking with other athletes, and through what I've seen, usually is one of those things that you throw it in, and then every once in a while you get a crack or two out of your back, and that makes you feel better, but it doesn't actually increase performance. So if you're using it for physical rehab, I don't see a problem on doing it on your off days. Get the cracks out, if you can't afford chiropractic or whatever, that's fine. But at the same time, what is this obsession with foam rolling your IT bands to the point where they're just jelly?
I've had an IT band problem where my kneecap was not tracking, and walking upstairs hurt like a bitch. It's because I was squatting 3 times a week. I had just set a world record in the squat, and I was just mangling my legs trying to get a 700-pound squat. And then it wasn't foam rolling that saved that. It was getting a car buffer and using that on my IT band every night. I didn't take my car buffer to the gym like a dickhead. I wasn't busy letting everybody know that I was that I had an IT band issue and I needed to massage it out. No, I did that in the privacy of my own home, like a man with dignity and self-respect.
And, speaking of tight, muscles and everything like that, because that's usually what people end up using a foam roller for. When you are in the midst of strength training, you want a tight muscle. You want that. Because it adds more rigidity and more structure to your frame. Can help you lift more and other various benefits. If you fall and slip on ice, you're not going to die like somebody who foam rolls.
Also, the whole idea of being toned, looking toned, muscle tonus is tightness.
Right.
So if you want to look jacked all the time, you don't want your muscles to be all sloppy and jiggly and fucking wobbling around.
Now, that's not to say that I know some people use foam rolling in order to increase their range of motion, right? Because that's become popular. They think that if they loosen up that muscle, but sometimes, increasing your range of motion, you could do that with static stretches better or dynamic stretches better. I'm not sold on the whole foam rolling thing.
You can also do it at home.
True, yes. But these are the same people that probably have or own a foam roller.
It costs $20, which is absurd on top of everything else. But a foam roller doesn't cost more than $20, does it?
Depending on the brand.
Fuck me running. In any event, if you're going to spend $30 on something, go on Amazon. Hormetic makes a mercury percussion massager. And it's got a heat setting, too. That fucking thing is banging, and it's got a little strap that goes over your hand, so you don't have to wear your hand out holding on to it, because I know I would get cramps in my hands from using the car buffer on my legs. This thing is awesome. It was $30 very well spent.
Now, something interesting we can talk about, because I think we've gone over foam rollers pretty thoroughly here. And there's more we can do a whole rant on that.
Holy fuck!
What?
I'm looking at the prices of foam rollers. If you're paying $40 for a foam roller, you're an asshole.
Yeah, no.
And there's just no two ways about it. I don't give a fuck if you're in Kuwait. Like, don't pay $40 for a fucking foam roller. Just don't do it.
Well, hey, you know what? I mean, it used to cost $700 and something to get a PS3 in Brazil, so because of extradition cost or import-export cost, so that's fun. But otherwise, yeah, they're about $20. So
yeah, that's just insane.
But it,
I do think it's fun though that you got to get your PS3 extradited out of Japan in order to get it into Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm just
exported. Yeah. I have a fucking cold, mister.
Oh.
I know, and I
That's
still
so
trained
sad.
today.
I'm on my 600th milligram of caffeine.
Oh, poor baby needs some caffeine to get through the podcast.
Hey, I had another bang just now, so.
Yeah. Speaking of the bang, let's shoot off to the bang song. What the fuck's that about?
So every time I go into GNC, well, I can't walk past the GNC without buying bang. I love this shit. I couldn't love a human baby as much as I love it. So I don't even know. It's a classical song. It's a bang ba bang ba 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 bang bang ba bang ba 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 bang, and then I just keep singing it as I'm walking through the fucking GNC. I like a lunatic.
That's completely fine. Don't worry about it.
I get very excited about my bang. This root beer blaze is just delicious.
Yeah, and it's the flavor that people buy bang for too, I think.
It's also the
really
caffeine.
nail it.
I am well caffeinated right now, if you couldn't tell.
Very well caffeinated.
Yeah, I got some ephedrine in me as well.
Okay. But, so where the fuck was I? Oh, yes. Yes, recovery. So, more important than foam rolling, I think, is the underimportance people put on sleep. And you just...
Yep.
Didn't you just write an article about this?
I sure did.
Well, why don't you go ahead and go into that a little bit? Tell the people, preach sleep, the importance.
Preach sleep. Well, you know what? Sleep is interesting because everybody knows that it's one of the three things that you need in order to succeed in lifting. You got to lift hard, you got to eat hard, you got to sleep hard. You need those three things. If you're missing any one of those three things, you're just fucking yourself up. But when it comes down to it, what does everybody skip on? They skip on sleep, always. Everybody is like busy with I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's fun to say, and it's cool because you can power through workouts and shit like that. You can take enough stimulants that you can get through your workouts. But at the end of the day, you're really fucking yourself up. And not only are you fucking up your gains, but like every part of your life is worse when you're not getting enough sleep. Your vision's worse. Your memory's worse. You can't fuck as well. You get fat. You get diabetes. Your speech is fucked up. I mean, it just, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So, every hack on the planet has written an article about sleep, and they all rate the same shit. Go to bed at the same time every night, sleep in a cool, dark room, cover your eyes, take out your electrical devices and throw them in the trash, blah, 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 blah.
Be afraid of your cell phone, yeah.
Yeah, do your yoga, all that shit. I didn't rehash that because I'm not an idiot, and I know that you guys can fucking Google that stuff. And also, if you don't know you're supposed to sleep in a cool, dark place, you're a fucking retard, and I can't do anything for you. But I have written in the past about how I use binaural beats and combine it with hypnos in order to have like lucid dreams and like get crazy deep sleep. I still do that, and it's fun because you can basically trip balls while you're sleeping. And when I say trip balls, I mean like you can control your dreams. You have dreams about flying. I have had dreams about fighting monsters. I'd like all kinds of crazy ass shit, and I do it intentionally and specifically. So I wake up feeling like $1 million because I use those two things together. So I've written that in the past, and then this article was just kind of trying to drive home to everybody how important sleep was. So I covered the detrimental health effects that you'll get from not sleeping, and then I even went into like J.C. Hayes, who was he was a proto powerlifter. So powerlifting didn't exist then; it was still odd lifts.
Right.
This guy was basically one of the first big squatters, and he constructed, because they didn't have squat racks at the time, he constructed his own squat rack out of like loose branches from his yard. And so out of this rickety ass setup, he had a 690-pound squat, like outdoors on uneven ground in the grass, which is just fucking crazy. And then somebody was like, well, do you ever deadlift? And he was like, nah, I don't deadlift. And they were like, haha, you suck at the deadlift. So he trained the deadlift like a maniac for a year, and then he walked into that guy's gym, no warm-up, walked up to a bar that had 700 on it and pulled it easy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, just as like a fuck you to the guy. And the dude was a lumberjack and a coal miner and a uranium prospector. Like, one of the more interesting people you'll ever read about. I mean, that's just the greatest resume ever, isn't it?
So black lungs and radiation. It's fine.
Oh yeah, he died badly. It was not an easy death that he had. But
Jesus Christ.
He made a really interesting point that, and it's something that you don't really think about, but another thing people skimp on, and I mean, we've all slept at that friend's house who had that, they were rocking that like 150 count, like 150 thread count on their sheets, and it's like, bro, this is hay. You're literally making me sleep on a bed of hay.
Yeah.
You get a nice thread count on your sheets, get a good mattress, and so that's what he wrote this whole article that I just used an excerpt from, but like if you have a saggy bed, it'll completely fuck up your lifts, and so maybe it's not that you have or you have shitty IT bands and you need a foam roll and do all this other bullshit. Maybe you just need to get a new mattress and sleep 8 hours a night.
Now, I do have a question on that. Like, my opinion is you don't skimp on furniture anyway, because you're going to be staring at it for a year plus, right? Like, you shouldn't ever go to like Walmart and buy one of those $99 desks, because they're just going to fall apart, right? You want something solid. So with your bed, with that in mind, I'm of the opinion where you really shouldn't skimp on a good mattress, you know? Especially if you're going to be sleeping in the motherfucker for, I mean, people keep mattresses more or longer than they keep desk, you know?
That is true, and I will agree with you to a point, but I mean, not everybody's built like that money-wise. So
no. And that's where places like these come-to-your-door mattress places are great, and I can go ahead and list a few for you guys. You can look up some reviews on YouTube's, but the main thing is you want a bed that supports you. You want a bed that, you know, if you buy into the memory foam thing, cool. If you don't like the memory foam thing, cool. There are other mattress retailers out there. But the most important thing is a lot of these guys have like a 90-day guarantee, like 100 nights you can sleep, and then, you know, whatever. You can send it back or whatever with no charge. They'll just put your money on hold. So that is one way in which I would encourage you guys to ensure that you get a great mattress. Now, these guys are not a sponsor like they are to other YouTube channels and everything, but there's Casper, there's Lisa, there's a couple different other companies, and they all have reviews online. So if you're in the realm of buying a new mattress and getting the most bang for your buck, bang, bada, bang, 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 right? Bang for your buck.
I will. Go ahead.
You need to seriously look into these things, because let me tell you something. We bought a mattress at a regular, mattress store, right? Pillow top box or pillow top springs, all the works. Cost us over $1,000. Turned out to be not a very good mattress, and now we've kind of learned our lessons. So you don't have to spend $3,000, $4,000 on a mattress, but make sure you do not buy the cheapest available. That's what I would say. Go ahead.
So I think it was about a year before I set my world record. No, I was still sleeping on it when I set my world record, and I don't advise this to anyone, but I've told you about how much I've moved. I'm essentially a nomad at heart, and for a long time I lived by the rule that I would not own anything I could not fit into my car, and I had a Volkswagen Golf, so I didn't own a lot of shit.
Oh shit!
And the way that I pulled that off was I had a futon that I could take apart and put it together in like under 10 minutes, and then I had all of this these like cubbies that were made out of wire mesh that you could quickly assemble and reassemble. And then here was the kicker: from my bed, I used a double thick inflatable queen size bed from grad school, so from 2008 until about 2012, I slept on that thing, and I set my world record while I was sleeping on an inflatable mattress.
Yeah.
The nice thing about them is when they pop a leak, you can just take them back to Bed Bath & Beyond and be like, it's leaking, and they'll be like, well, this clearly is an heirloom piece that you bought from us in 1954, but we're going to go ahead and replace it. So, like, they don't fuck with you, they just replace it. So, I went through like 5 of those fucking things because, fucking takes its toll on those. I don't advise fucking on them all that much, but that's what the futon's for. But, it worked. It's one of those things you gotta, like you said, you really gotta kind of weigh the positives and negatives, but if you can sleep on an inflatable mattress, you can get it done. You just got to make sure you're getting that sleep.
Yeah. The one mattress I would not suggest anybody to get, and they kind of died in the 70s and 80s, but I know they're still around and they won't fucking die, as water beds. Please don't.
Do people still sleep on those?
Yes.
Where would you even buy a waterbed? I haven't seen one in fucking forever.
They fucking sell them. I'm not fucking kidding you here. So... You need to stay the fuck away from waterbeds. Holy fuck!
Yeah, you might as well just break your own back. Just get it over with. And also, I'm pretty sure that your insurance doesn't cover it if your waterbed pops.
Oh yeah,
your
and the flood
homeowner's insurance
happens.
will not. Yeah, they won't cover that at all.
Neither will renter's insurance.
Yeah, they just go fuck yourself, basically.
So don't do that. But yeah, you can get a reasonable blow-up mattress for how much, Jamie?
Like $300.
$300. Mm-hmm. And you can get one of the from factory to home mattresses, like a queen size, for like $400, $500 from places.
There you go.
So
I mean, look, we've all been there, and nobody's judging. We've all been there. We've all been broke as shit. And I mean, I was a nomad, and I lived that lifestyle very specifically for a reason. But half the reason was I was broke as a motherfucker. So
yeah, and just to give you an idea, I mean, if you want to...
Bush destroyed the economy. I was working at Vitamin Shop for a fucking year with 2 MBAs.
Yeah. Well, just
to make those school loan payments.
Yeah. Just to give people an idea, what was your furniture like in your first place of residence? How was it?
I had good furniture in my first apartment because that was back in the .com bubble, and I had a really good job right out of school. I made more money my first year out of undergrad than I did in the succeeding 5 years after getting my MBAs because the economy was such trash. Yeah. But I actually went out and got a good mattress. I think my parents might have actually bought me that bed. But I had a really nice mattress. I had a dope setup for playing Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Nice TV. Yeah, it was solid.
See, I had minimal amount of furniture. The only advantage is my dad is a property manager in Austin, Texas. And he had one of his owners that was just, I don't know if the guy was ridiculously rich or whatever, but he just said, you know what, I just decided to move because he worked for AMD or something like that, right? He just decided to move, and he left behind all this furniture. So I had a pretty good setup, except for the stuff like a TV stand and stuff like that. I bought some cheapos, and I bought a cheapo desk to begin with and all that stuff. Like, It was and mattresses. I mean, I used to have the same mattress for like 10 years, and then I moved up here for the woman that I chose to spend my life with. And yeah, I know. Oh, people want to die out there. But she we needed a new mattress, and that was my first mattress buying experience, and I've learned to appreciate the the finer mattress quality. So, because this one's killing our back, we're about to get a new one, so we're on the lookout on those sites that I had mentioned before. So
we actually got a I don't know who made it, but we got a bamboo one.
A bamboo, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of it's got kind of a memory foam type feel to it. I'm not super in love with it because, you know, I'm sure you're the same way. When I go to sleep, my metabolism goes through the fucking roof, and I'm just broiling.
Break out sweats. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm broiling. And so the bed softens with heat. So, like, I'm just sinking into the fucking bed the whole night.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I turn into, like, a furnace. Especially when I'm just starting to get tired. I get, like, this almost inferno feeling, like you're burning from the inside out. It's pretty crazy.
Damn.
But yeah, it's I just have high body heat. That's all. But it's just one of those things where, you know, you buy a mattress, you tremendously underestimate how much of an effect it has on sleep. I'll tell you another thing that has an effect on sleep is how many hours you get. Right? How many would you suggest people get? I mean, realistically.
That was another thing I looked into because I don't know if you've ever heard of. So there's basically 3 different types of sleep that you can get. For the number of sleep periods, you can have monophasic, which is one block of sleep, like one main block of sleep that's between, generally for most people, it's between 6 and 8 hours, sometimes with a nap afterwards. So that's monophasic. Then there's biphasic, which is 2. There's evidence that in Northern Europe, that was really common prior to the invention of the electric light. People would go to sleep for like 4 hours, wake up for an hour to 3 hours, and like party or fuck or chop wood or whatever, and then go back to sleep for another 4 hours. And then there are the fucking dickhead Redditors who came up with polyphasic sleeping, I guess because they just wanted some way to exacerbate their already horrific mental illnesses. And don't do that. Just don't. Polyphasic sleep is fucking stupid.
Explain that to me real quick.
Oh my god, it actually makes me physically ill to talk about it, but it was real popular on Reddit for a while. It is so there's 3 different types of this. There's the everyman, which is a long sleep time, quote unquote long sleep time of around 3 hours with 3 20-minute naps throughout the day.
Then 3 hours is a long sleep time. Hold on, what the fuck?
Yeah, these fucking people are. I mean, it's specifically a recipe for mental illness. You will make yourself mentally ill, and like if you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast that came out last week about sleep, not only will you make yourself mentally ill, you'll give yourself brain tumors sleeping like this.
Right.
There's the Uberman, which is only 3 hours of sleep per day, only 3 hours in the form of 6 30-minute naps. Then there's Dimaxian, which is only 2 hours of sleep per day in the form of 30-minute naps every 6 hours.
Okay. Now, is this them trying to replicate the old sleep-wake cycle that people think they were in? Like you would sleep for a couple hours, get up and move, because early humans and all that stuff. Is that what it's about? I don't know.
That's because I actually... I researched pre-industrial cultures, and I'll get into that next.
Okay.
But I think this started out as like some dickhead decided he wanted to experiment with his sleep, and then it just got out of hand. That's all I can guess. It was just one of those things where, you know, you've created a problem in your brain and your actual chemistry. You've created such a problem and your sleep is so interrupted that now you've completely lost track of what sanity is, and you just go completely off the fucking rails and start only sleeping 2 hours a day.
Yeah,
that's the best I can tell. Because quite honestly, there's no reason to live like this. It just seems miserable. And
Well,
also,
Go
like,
ahead.
it doesn't matter how fucking exhausted you are. Nobody can fall asleep in under 5 minutes. So you're at least setting aside like a 30-minute period to fall asleep for each one of those 30-minute naps, and then you're groggy as fuck, staggering around, wondering what the fuck planet you're on for the next 2 hours. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, they might be tired enough after doing this for a while to fall asleep within 5 minutes, would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you develop narcolepsy at some point.
Oh, God. But, no, it's one of those things where, people have, and I think there's a lot of fallacy when it comes to sleep, because people think that because it works for somebody else, it'll work for them. Kind of like how, you hear that old, this so-and-so successful person only gets 3 hours of sleep. And then you're like, oh, well, that must work. He has much more time during the day and all that stuff. Well, I can guarantee you that's not preferred by that person, right? It's just what fits into their lifestyle, because they're just so absurdly busy. Like Bill Gates.
I don't want to harp on this point too much, because I feel like it always comes back to this with me, ever since I learned what the fucking incel was. But the same dickheads that they hold aloft as like people that you ought to emulate, like Tesla. Tesla died a virgin. He was terrified of women. Edison, not a ladies' man, hated sleep. People who don't sleep can't fuck. It is a fact. Yeah, like you literally, your hormones are so fucked up, there's no chance of you getting a hard-on. And if you do get a hard-on, you're not going to be able to maintain it for sex, and you probably won't have enough energy to fuck anyway.
That's true. And there's this state of something called, and I know people get confused on what this means, but delirium, right? When you don't have enough sleep for over the 24-hour mark, right? You do enter a state of delirium. And what that basically boils down to is like mental confusion. It seems like thoughts are there, but you can't quite grasp them, That
you have all the signs of being legally drunk.
Right.
When you go 24 hours without sleep.
And then 48 hours, it only intensifies, and 72 hours, you are legally insane.
Yes.
You are in a state of psychosis. And
there was that one radio DJ who went like 5 days or 6 days straight on the air, and he was a gibbering fucking retard at the end.
Oh, you're talking about that one who tried to break the world record?
Yep.
Yeah, that was actually quite a bit longer, and by a couple days, and he actually started doing some kooky wacko shit at the end there. Like he was in Times Square, wasn't he?
I don't recall. It's been a while since I read that story.
Long story short, the dude started to hallucinate.
201 hours he went.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so you were about right. Yeah. So.
And then a whole bunch of DJs tried to beat it.
That's 8 days, actually. That's 8 days. Holy shit. Whole bunch of DJs tried to beat him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
After the stunt, he thought he was an imposter of himself.
And he used to think... Yeah, and he used to think that pedestrians coming up to him were the NSA or CIA or whatever, trying to get him. So, I mean, you get very bad health effects from sleeping, or not sleeping. Yeah. So, but
back to your question though about how people naturally sleep.
Yeah.
There are still two theories on that. It's either biphasic or monophasic. They've done certain studies that showed that people, if they are in darkness for more than 14 hours a day, so they don't have electric lights for 14 hours a day, they will sleep in 2 4-hour blocks. They showed over the course of like a month. Okay. Whereas when they studied pre-industrial African cultures, they found they slept for one sleep period. It was 6.9 to 8.5 hours. Like on average, and the variation in that was due to the time of onset of sleep, not offset. So they would wake up. They would wake up around the same time, just before sunrise, but they would fall asleep at different times. And so, really, the key ingredients there is that they took away was wake up at the same time every day, go to sleep as it's getting cool. And like right now, we don't have central air in this house, so I was up until like 4 a.m. last night because I was just laying there sweating and praying for death. And then it finally cooled off enough that I could fall asleep. I'm gonna have the same issue tonight, but yeah, it's just one of those. Like, there's only so much that a fan can do for you.
You know, and I would suspect that our, you know, you were talking pre-industrial. I mean, you know, we have central air and heating now, which is something that's, you know, relatively new in human history, right? Mm-hmm. I would be willing to bet that has some impact, like always being at a comfortable temperature has some impact on your sleep-wake cycles. I think if that's not studied already, I think that needs to be studied. It
has been studied, and it does have an impact, but that's why we've reverted back to the monophasic sleep, is because they think the biphasic sleep came because of the long nights in the winter in Northern Europe, in the Northern Hemisphere.
That makes sense,
so
yeah.
People who live in the tropics, they basically have the same length of day throughout the year. So their day stays the same. But when when you got 16 hours of darkness in the winter, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and want to do something.
Now, do you subscribe to the whole circadian rhythm thing? Or do you think that's something, your circadian rhythm is something that you can control? Like for night shift workers and stuff?
You know, I haven't really researched. I mean, I could talk out of my ass and say, give an opinion, but I really haven't researched it enough to give an educated opinion on it. It seems like you can manipulate your circadian rhythms, but judging that the people who work third shift have so many more health ailments than people who work day shift. That's just a statistical fact. I would say that's probably... I mean, it may be the case that you can manipulate your circadian rhythms, but it seems like people who work night shift don't.
Well, I do know that when you're... until you're about 4 months old, you don't have an internal clock, right? So
that's interesting.
Yeah, so when you... when your mom and pop decide to put you to bed, or their wake sleep cycles, right, is usually what you tend to adopt. I could be wrong, but I believe that it's environmental like that. So if they go to bed at around 9 o'clock, and then they turn the lights off and everything like that, you kind of form that circadian rhythm, right? Mm-hmm. And it could be formed, like, the truth is I'm not well versed in this either. I need to be, which I think we will do another episode, because this is really fucking interesting. Another podcast on just sleep optimization, sleep everything, right? Why
I would like to just throw in here, because I typically get alerted to when somebody has ripped me off on a subject, and this is coincidental that we're talking about this a week after Joe Rogan did. Okay. I actually haven't listened to the entire Joe Rogan podcast, although I will say that everybody should, because the bit that I watched was about the medical residency program. Yeah. And the reason why medical residents are kept awake so much, forced to work those 30-hour shifts, is because the guy that Halsey, the guy who founded the medical program at Johns Hopkins, was a brutal Danny Bonaducci-style cokehead. Like Tara Reid and Danny Bonaducci and Gary Busey doing squats at 4 o'clock in the morning in his living room. Kind of cokehead. God. He was such a fucking bad cokehead that, like, they shuttled him off to, like, a proto-rehab, and then he came back from the fucking rehab with a coke habit and a heroin habit.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but that's why they make all these fucking residents go through this, and, like, they commit so many medical errors when they've been awake that long. It is literally criminal that they do that to people. Like, nobody should ever have to go under the knife with a doctor who hasn't slept in the last 12 hours. That's fucking crazy.
Well, there's that shocking statistic that oh man, I can't fucking speak today. There's that shocking statistic that, you know, there's a good percentage of doctors that are drunk while they're operating on you too. So that makes me feel a whole lot better, and I'm not going to get surgery in Colorado. I swear to God.
That steadies the hand, right?
Don't worry about it. But it's one of those things where, you know, getting back to the subject, sleep is really important. That's one of the ways that is one of the things that you can control and you can manipulate in order to increase your positive effects to the stimulus that is exercise. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So you can get, not only that, but you can get massive health benefits if you start regulating sleep. I'm a big proponent of that. I do it almost obsessively myself. Now, would you say there's a cutoff on how many hours of sleep you want to get? Like, you don't want to get 14 hours of sleep or whatever.
There isn't really a cutoff. It just seems like people naturally sleep around 8 hours a night. When you have a sleep deficit, when you've had a couple of days where you really haven't been getting enough sleep, like me, for instance, you definitely want to get at least 8.5 hours of sleep the day after, so that you can get rid of that sleep deficit. Yeah. Now, if you, over the course of 48 hours, even if you have protracted, lengthy periods of time where you have a sleep deficit, provided for the next 48 hours, you are like slamming yourself into a nice, cool bed with the AC blasting and knocking yourself out for maybe 12 hours twice in a 48 hours, you'll be fine. Like, it doesn't matter how much sleep you haven't gotten.
You can definitely make up sleep deficits, yeah.
Yeah. You just have to be assiduous about it, and you really have to make it a priority. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, I'll sleep next week. You got to get it fucking done. Because, like, all these health issues are just going to compound, and cancer seems to be very closely tied to sleep deficits.
Not only that, but metabolism as well. You know,
yep.
You have these enzymes. Are you familiar with the restricted eating research and all that stuff?
Oh, God. Are we talking about intermittent fasting now?
No. Just your natural... You have these natural enzymes that, from the moment you break the fat...
leptin and ghrelin?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's more involved. But they produce as soon as you ingest something, like even coffee. If it's not water, it's going to break your fast, honestly. And for up to 12 hours, these things are upregulated, right? Which is why there's some new research, and there's some the continuing research on time-restricted eating. Not intermittent fasting, but I guess you could call it that. Is interesting to me because...
That sounds like it's just a semantic difference.
You know, I'm not really sure how much of a difference it makes. From what I've been listening to and reading, after that 12-hour mark, right, is the point where those things start to downregulate. So you're more... Like, if you're eating more within a 24-hour window than a 12-hour window, you know? It's like kind of like constant feeding. It's not so great for your metabolism. So, but that's just... Don't quote me on that, and don't go out and say, I need to only eat 12 hours, or less eating is better. Just know that there's a certain cutoff point. And I think there's a cutoff point when it comes to sleep as well. If you sleep for 14 hours, like every single day, that, in my opinion, is a waste of time, honestly.
It also is just a primary indicator of depression, like crushing depression.
Yeah, and, you know, the most important thing is you want to get at least 6 hours of sleep a night. I think that's a little on edge. I would more gear towards 7 at least.
7,
right?
Yes, 7 to 9.
But if you get at least 6 hours of sleep and then you make up for it on the weekends or whatever, you know, because I'm thinking about people's work weeks. You know, I'm thinking about the working stiffs out there. That should be fine for body composition and everything else wise. I mean, you can totally make up for sleep deficits. So just have in mind that you need to get that sleep. It's important. Get it in, goddammit. With that being said, I think we've beaten that to death.
I think so. Well, you said you wanted to have 2 podcasts about this. So.
Well, hey, you know what? It'll be okay. I think we've beaten sleep to death, though.
We have.
So, our next subject in recovery, I think, should be the things that you can do in order to increase recovery besides eating a healthy diet, right? Are you familiar with contrast showers? Are you a fan? Are you not a fan?
I really hate cold showers. They make me very angry. I'm aware of the health benefits of it. I'm aware of contrast baths. The Russians love them. The Finns love them. I just fucking hate them. I don't like them. For a long time, I did the Paul Chek thing of turning the cold water on at the end of your shower and letting it blast you in your solar plexus. All it did was make me miserable, and it made my balls cold, and that was about it. I never noticed a difference of any kind.
Yeah.
Everybody would be like, oh, you get more vim and vigor, and it's like, I'm not going to go lift triangular weights right now. I don't have Roman sandals on. I don't know where vim and vigor even come into this subject, but it's I don't have a twisty mustache.
I would rather see somebody utilize the sauna than a contrast shower.
Why is that?
There's actually pretty good research on heat shock proteins and recovery.
Well, do fill us in.
Well, basically everything healing-wise is upregulated when it comes to heat. Whereas with cold, it interferes with the inflammation process just a little bit. Now, I know the cryotherapy things are getting popular and everything, right? But I'm about chasing every little percent. And when it comes to...
That 4-hour body guy used to beat his dick about ice baths to cut fat. He would violently beat his dick. He abused his dick to that thing.
Yeah, he failed hard mode multiple times.
Oh, yeah, he did.
But I'm not convinced on cold anymore. I'm just not convinced. And it's just a personal preference thing too. Like, I am like a snake. I love the heat. It'll make some people cringe, I know. And I'm in the South. I'm at the perfect place to get it. But I just love the heat. So when I get out of the shower, my back is red with, like a lobster.
I agree. I agree with you. And the science is there because you burn more calories cooling yourself than you do heating yourself.
Yeah.
So that ice bath, it doesn't make any sense. You'd be better off getting into a hot bath than your body's got to cool you.
I think that has to do with some of the effects on fat cells, them turning brown or whatever.
I thought you only had brown fat in between your shoulder blades. Maybe I'm demonstrating ignorance right now, but I thought brown fat only existed in one section of your body.
All I know is that I've tried contrast showers, and they are not effective for me personally. Although I will say that there is some research to show that they do work. So if that's something you'd like to try, fine. I just don't think it makes that big of a difference, honestly. I think you'd be better just using heat for recovery purposes. So I should have come on this podcast better prepared to go over the benefits of sauna, but I will on the next podcast. Trust me.
Yeah, we kind of veered off into the weeds there. I
know. I've got a head cold going on, and I can't exactly remember what it was, but there was something that made me fucking do it. And, that's a good thing about these podcasts too, is sometimes, when you've been doing this so long, you know something works, right? But you forget the reason entirely. So it's good to kind of brush up. That's why, college professors are the top of their field, because they're constantly having to refresh their mind on the information.
Yep.
So, but with that being said, that's my advice there. For some reason. Did you ever get
to TA when you were in grad school?
Huh?
Did you ever TA any classes when you were in grad school?
No.
Oh. I got to TA a class, actually as an undergrad, when I was going into the grad program for history. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't like people that much, so said fuck it. That'll be fine. But anyway, it's yeah. Recovery-wise, nutrition is one of the things that nobody should ignore, and I'll let you go into this. What should people add? I know you were talking about cheesecake the other day. Can you fill me in on that? What's going on there?
So I'm just of the opinion that cheesecake, and I mean, I'm sure that half of this is just me. I gotta have to stop myself for a second here and see if the controls on this go away. All right, let me see if I can get a screenshot of this. I know I just derailed us slightly, but I was looking to find out where brown fat was, and so I was correct. It's on your upper back. It's found in myriad other places throughout your body, but it's like tiny little bits. But there is this woman who is horrific looking, who's the senior writer for some nerd website, and I mean, wait until you see that. God damn it! I'm trying to get the screen cap of it, but in any event, she is just horrible to look at, and I'm just like,
what's her name?
Let me. I'll bring it back up. I just X'd out of it because the sound started to come on, and that drives me up the wall.
Oh yeah,
it's on Live Science. Wait, here it comes. The Animals of Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and her name is Mindy Weissberger. You know how on Saved by the Bell? Well, you're like 4 years old, so you don't remember Saved by the Bell. But there used to be this show called. So on Saved by the Bell, whenever they had a quote-unquote nerd on that show, it would always be a chick who was an actual model. And then they would just put ugly glasses on her and call her a nerd. This is what they were aiming for. This is one of the least attractive human beings upon whom I've ever laid eyes. And I'm not saying I'm any visual prize, but this is just something else. Do you have her? Do you see it?
I do, yes.
Woo! She is an unfortunate-looking woman.
More power to her, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, a good.
What the fuck is she famous for?
I think she's a senior editor for Life Science.
She's a senior writer for Life Science, yeah. Okay.
God damn.
Well, senior writer, hi, if you're listening.
It looks like they took one of the nerds from Saved by the Bell and then tied her feet to the back bumper of a car and dragged her face down for a while and then lit her face on fire and then put it out with a shovel and then put makeup on her.
So Screech.
Worse than Screech. I think that woman is worse looking than Screech by a long shot.
Oh my god. But anyway, back to Cheesecake.
Her nose looks like. It looks like she's wearing those Groucho Marx glasses that have the nose attached to them.
Oh my god, it does.
Yeah, it really does. Oof. Jesus Christ, she's ugly. Anyway. Oh my god, that's gonna haunt me in my dreams.
Jesus Christ.
Oh. So what were you at? You asked me something that had nothing to do with that.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
The thing that everybody loves.
Oh my god, I love cheesecake. Cheesecake is, in my mind, a power food. And I call it that for a number of reasons. One, it is the most calorically dense food I can think of. I mean, you would be hard-pressed to find a food that wasn't Fritos or Oreos that like you could actually make in your own house that would have more bang for your buck calorically. And I mean, It's got... I haven't looked at the macros recently, but I mean, it's got a little bit of protein in it, so you got the protein aspect. You got like just a bucket full of fat, so it's not spiking your sugar too high, and it is one of the most satisfying things to eat you could possibly put in your mouth.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but if they recreated American Pie and cast me, I would request a cheesecake.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 That is a food that you could make sweet tender love to.
Hell yeah. But
anyway. One nice thing about cheesecake is that since I'm a huge fan of keto dieting, you can make keto cheesecake. And it's not like I was saying that don't bullshit around with your nonsense foods and arrowroot flour and all that. You don't even have to do that. You just don't put any crust on it and make it with Splenda. It's banging.
Right.
Yeah, and you can sit down and eat a protein cheesecake every single day and lose body fat at the same time. Unless your name is Bryce, in which case you will poop your pants.
Oh my God. Don't make fun of me.
Well, I'm not the one who wears the pens in this relationship, buddy.
Sir, that took it too far. I told you that in private. But yeah, I have to agree. I mean, cheesecake is one of those things, like, you even see some of the powerlifters down it right before bed. Maybe that's because the, quote-unquote time-release protein and all that stuff. But it's an amazing protein source. It's an amazing fat source. It's tasty as hell. I challenge you to find a person in this world that doesn't like cheesecake. And if you are one of those people, I'm sorry. Why don't you go write about me on Reddit?
Yeah, I would venture to guess that they're somehow managing to be like a communist and a fan of Sarah Palin at the same time.
You know what? Watch this. After this podcast, there's going to be a subreddit called Cheesecake Haters, right? And it's going to be just full of incels and full of these incels who don't sleep very well.
Oh, they made a great comment on last podcast on the left about incels the other day.
Hell yeah.
Because they recently did a series on Rasputin, who was hung like a fucking donkey. I think he had a 13-inch dick or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he the guy they have the penis of?
Yeah. Well, okay. Except that, as it turns out, that's a mummified horse penis.
Oh,
but
same thing.
Yeah. And then Jim Jones was apparently hung like a donkey as well. Whereas all of the incels, and like they just found that incel serial killer in California, like they found him on Ancestry.com, but apparently he has like a bizarrely small penis.
How the fuck would they find him off Ancestry.com, by the way?
I don't. He did the Ancestry DNA thing, and they had linked. They had gotten a warrant to search Ancestry.com's DNA database for the serial killer, and so that's how they found him. But yeah, so because he had raped all these women, they had all commented on like how unnaturally small his penis was. And then Elliot Rodgers had apparently a very, very small penis. And so there's a very interesting correlation between very large penis, you're a cult leader, and very small penis, you're an incel serial killer.
To be fair, if I had a micro penis, I would be pretty pissed off at the world too. That's
true. Although the dude in the guy who was a serial killer in Alaska that they made that god awful John Cusack movie about.
Oh yeah.
He was apparently hung like a tuna can, which is even weirder. Because you get chicks they love the girth too.
Yeah.
But that's not getting it done for anybody.
Yeah. What was he, just like more girthy than he was long?
He was apparently when I say he was hung like a tuna can, they said that like a woman who he like tried to grab, she was a prostitute and she saw it and she said that's how she described it.
Oh my God. Okay.
So, like an inch long and very, very thick.
Well, now I've got some playful mental imagery that I can play with later.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing you can add to that is I saw a couple in Target yesterday who were both crippled. The one guy was like super crippled up in like a motorized wheelchair, and then the other one had like a little walker deal. I don't want to Google it, but I'm curious to Google crippled porn. Like, I wonder how they bump uglies.
It's a thing.
Is it even legal to watch that?
I think it's more of a moral issue, like it's an ethics issue. Do I really want to watch that?
If they're mentally handicapped and they can really give consent, and then have you just watched non-consenting adults having sex?
To be fair, like if you go to any of these websites, like community submitted websites, nobody does an age of consent check on there either. So, to be fair,
True.
there's probably some weird shit we don't know about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and we probably have some guilty sessions under our belts.
And for all you guys listening out there who are under the age of 18, I know you clicked accept. I know you clicked accept on those fucking websites. Don't fucking play. Don't fucking play. It's fine. Everybody does it. Anyway, not that
That just took a dark turn, didn't it?
not that I fucking endorse any of that shit, but back to recovery. Let's recover from this.
Okay.
So, nutrition-wise, other than cheesecake, is there anything else that you would add into your diet to kind of boost your recovery? You know, because everybody's about that recover faster life, so they can get in there and train harder. You know,
if I'm dragging ass and really hurting and really sore, my go-to is usually very salty and very fatty. So I'll do something, but still with carbs. So, like meat lovers pizza. That's a big one for me. Popcorn at the movies. Popcorn at the movies is huge in my mind. Like when I cut for meats, the thing that I do invariably, like everything else might change, but the thing I do invariably is I go to the movies the night before my meat, get a large buttered popcorn, and I rebutter that bitch like 3 times, and I'm just slamming soda like Diet Coke the whole time, because they got you blasted with the AC. You're getting like 1 billion calories. You're getting every gram of salt you could possibly ever want. It's my favorite way to like super hydrate.
Yeah. And I think that's another important thing that we can kind of get across too, is like, you want a place where you can go to recover. Go to the goddamn movies.
Yep.
You know,
It's
fucking
dark.
relaxing.
You can fall asleep. I mean, I've done it many times. You just knock out for a little while. You wake back up and you're like, oh shit, I'm at the movies again.
Well, not even that. I mean, me and my childhood friend Jesse, we used to go to the movies and we used to catch back-to-back showings and everything like that. And it's one of those things where, if you can do that for like 4 to 6 hours, like, that's some pretty good recovery time. And you're all the time you're there, you're loading yourself up with some salty snacks. You're loading yourself up with some, you're fairly hydrated, because let's face it, you can't go to the movies and not have a drink in your hand. Same thing with the popcorn. You're getting plenty of dietary fat. You're getting, all sorts of anabolic switches are coming off and on. It's very fucking, like, if that's one thing I could, make people do, is go to the goddamn movies. Especially if you got those movie theaters with the recliners. You ever
Dude,
seen
that's
those?
what we did. That's what we did last weekend. We
Fuck yeah.
my girl got us tickets to Black Panther, and then 15 minutes after Black Panther ended, we went into 3D Infinity Wars. It was fucking awesome. And then we left there. We drug our asses into the gym, like, just fat and happy, because we were in there eating hoagies, and like I filled up the popcorn bucket twice, and then we went in, got a badass shoulder workout. Actual, like, queasiness from being so full. Then we went home, ordered a pizza, and watched fucking Ant-Man. It was awesome.
And you know what you were doing? You were basically being a super recovering machine. That is, people tend to think that the only time you recover is through sleep. And while, yes, you do recover a lot from sleep, but your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, if you're out at the park running around on your days off, right, and you're going for a jog or whatever, that's not recovery in my mind. That's more stressor. Make sure that you take some time to kind of sit down, relax, and really de-stress. And if you have kids, take them to the movies too. Make it a family event. And it's one of those things where I think, I'm glad you mentioned that. That is a fucking awesome recovery plan for athletes.
It is absolutely my go-to when I'm really hurting. Every time, pizza, movie, and I feel like $1 million the next day.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to recovery too, some things that you can add into your nutrition, because I'm trying to stay on top of it. I really am, guys. Damn it.
Here comes the plug.
No,
Hit us
not
with
Here
the plug.
Comes the Plug. No.
Oh,
I was actually going to go back to your spicy food article. And by the way, how's the one on curry coming and everything like that?
I've gotten like 6 degrees of sidetracked, which is typically how whenever I like right now I have 527 published articles and I have 119 drafts. So I jump around a lot until I get like some traction on an article, and then I just blast through it. So I don't know where I stand on that one. It's in there because curry is very interesting, but it's also very complex. There's a lot of different kinds of curries, and curry isn't actually a specific herb. It's a blend of herbs.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'll have to look forward to the article then. I will say that on top of my recovery list, I think garlic, all the pungent foods like you mentioned in your... I've been pounding the ginger with this cold,
How's it working for you?
You know what? I'm almost there. I mean, I've only been sick for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 days.
Jesus, right? I would put myself in the ground if I was sick for 5 days.
Well, it's it's a chest thing. I think it's being worsened by the allergies that is going around. Yeah. So my body just doesn't like the outside very much. But
it's as hot here as it is there right now, I think. I have sweated through my shorts. I must have the worst goddamn swamp ass on earth. Like, I'm just about to slide off my chair right now. It's like 93 up here.
Yeah. And you severely underestimate the power of stuff like ginger and even bone broth, I had mentioned that. Can you go ahead and talk a little bit about that? Because I fucking love the stuff, and I know my thoughts on it. But you go ahead and...
Well, I've written about bone broth in the past, and making the stock for soup out of bone broth. Bone broth is probably the easiest way to get super nutrition that you can possibly get. All of these fucking assholes running around talking about how acai berry is going to change the world and cure cancer and all that shit. Everything they've ever said about that was a lie, but you could say the same things about bone broth and it would be the truth. Because when you make bone broth, you leach all the nutrition out of the marrow of bones, and so you're getting just the most incredible amount of like trace nutrients and trace minerals, and plus it tastes good. You're getting protein, you're getting fat. It's an all-around panacea. And then what I do, and I guess what you do as well, is like I put wasabi in mine, I put horseradish in mine, I put a lot of pungent foods to add more nutrition and to spice it up. And you can drink it. Like, I make it so goddamn spicy that I can drink it instead of coffee some mornings, and I'm off to the races.
I know it's fucking gross, but I also have been known to get some cloves of garlic and just chew the suckers. So,
Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Taking that to the next level.
Fuck it. You know what? I'm not here to fucking... It'll be fine.
It's fine.
You can always mix it in a little bit of, I actually like goat cheese. That's kind of my new thing to kind of obsess about, just for the taste, not for necessarily the health benefits, but there are some. But it's just one of those things where just, minced garlic does wonders in bone broth as well. Like, you can cook up some stock with a little bit of minced garlic in it. It's fucking amazing. I like just the overall feeling of it makes me feel more healthy, right? And it's one of those things where it really is a wonder supplement, quote unquote, right? But you can make it at home from like your leftovers. It's awesome.
The way that I learned to make it, and you can add your opinion in on this, but what I do is I basically just, because I'm always making ribs and shit, so I just save the bones from my ribs, my T-bones and whatever, and chicken bones, whatever. I save all the bones, and then and I'll save the scraps from whenever I've made vegetables of any kind. So I save all that, I throw it in a bag in the freezer, and then every couple of weeks I just pull it out, boil the shit out of that, then strain it, and there you have it. There's your broth. And I mean, I add in a lot of like like I said, I add in a lot of garlic. I'll add in ginger and horseradish and things of that nature. Although I haven't used ginger, I think Mel did. But yeah, I'll add in a bunch of pungent foods, and there's your bone broth. You can use it as soup stock. You can just drink it by itself. You can add it to chili. You can put it in virtually anything. You use it for au jus.
Yeah. And I actually like it to use as like a little sauce too. I don't know if you're a big fan of like sauces or anything, but
love sauces. I'm a massive fan of sauce. Chimichurri is basically my favorite thing on the planet.
There you fucking go. But yeah, that's kind of the same way I make my bone broth.
There's your garlic.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's the same way I make my bone broth, although I like to add a little bit of pork in there. It's just a little flavor kick up, but that's a southern thing, I guess.
You guys will put pork into fucking anything. You make vanilla ice cream, you put pork in it.
Hey, and you know what? Whenever you've had enough pork, you go pork your wife.
Ha ha!
But yeah, it's one of those things where it really is something that I think everybody should be incorporating at least once a week into their diet. But that's just me. I mean, for recovery's sake, and I know we haven't talked about really the specifics of why you need to recover and everything like that, and we'll get into that, but all the processes behind what bone broth does in your body. I mean, it makes stronger bones, makes better skin, it makes better DNA. I mean, it is a fucking wonder, and I wish more people would sincerely try bone broth.
And you can, if you're lazy as shit, you can get good bone broth at Walmart, cheap as fuck.
Right.
It's like a couple of bucks for 20 ounces of it. And like I said, just drink it in the morning, like, in between cups of coffee, chug some bone broth. And
or you know what? Heat it up. You can do
stuff like put apple cider vinegar into it. I'm really not like. Some people think that apple cider vinegar, like, if your fucking leg grows off and you drink enough apple cider vinegar, you'll grow it back. I don't know what the fuck I don't know what they're thinking with that. I'm really not a big fan of it, but you can add that to it as well.
Well, apple cider vinegar in and of itself, you have apple cider vinegar with mother. I don't know if you've heard of what that is.
Yeah, I used to. I've owned and operated supplement stores before, and if I hear one more goddamn person tell me about the magic of Bragg's, I'll kill myself, I think. But anyway, go ahead and tell us what mother is.
It's basically this. It's basically this pulpy stuff at the bottom of the bottle. Has a lot of.
It's just pulp. It's pulp.
Yeah. It supposedly has a lot of prebiotics and probiotics and stuff like that, and pretty good stuff for you. So, if you're gonna do the apple cider vinegar thing, I would suggest that, because some of the other apple cider vinegar out there, like if you go to the generic brands, all it is it's vinegar with apple cider flavoring added to it. So it's a little cost-saving measure that they have. But yeah, Bragg's is a fine brand. Like, I know, it make you scream, but
well, not the least of which, because it has like Bible verses and shit on it. But and Bragg was a dickhead. But
yeah, but you get it's the same fucking people who buy fucking Ezekiel bread too.
Yeah, Jesus.
I mean, Jesus. But But the
for anybody out there who doesn't know what Ezekiel bread is, it's sprouted grain bread, and the recipe came from the Bible.
Ancient sprouted grain bread.
Well, if you're eating ancient sprouted grains, you're probably going to die of some horrible mold disease.
Come on. Disease die in the freezer, right?
And as I recall, that recipe in the Bible had poop in it.
Yeah, there's a lack of fecal matter. I think that has to do with FDA standards, but if we could go ahead and get that pushed through, I think that it would kill the brand entirely. So
hey, 2 rules, 1 cup bread. I'm down. Let's do it.
Hell yeah, that's a whole new form of power bread out there. Fuck yeah. But as for anything else, I can't really think right now, but I will say that calories are important. Food is the fucking answer to recovery most of the time. If you're doing
It's just
everything
like the
else
Barbarian
right,
brothers used to say. There is no such thing as overtraining. There's only undereating and undersleeping.
if you're doing everything else right, food should be your concern. And then if you have food in order, you should have no problem recovering from your workout. And trust me, I mean, I know that there's a big portion of you guys that listening out there that are not professional athletes, and that's completely fine, and we love you. But you don't need to sell yourself short either. You're probably going through a hard workout for you. You're probably doing enough where you need more food to recover. And more oftentimes I see a lot of guys progress, get injured, right? And then slowly decline into the point where they used to be that guy benching 405 in high school, you know? And it's all because either chronically undereating or shitty training. So take chronically undereating out of the equation, please.
Well said. And I think that's a good stopping point, because since we're about at 2 hours.
Ah, shit, already?
Yeah.
Fuck.
And like I said, my ass is just a swamp right now. I got to go get in the shower.
Do we have time for a couple questions?
Yeah, sure. We can do that.
Okay. So, I got a question from from YouTube. In the book Better Than Steroids, the author says an hour of training is all you should do due to the cortisol and catabolic agents in your system basically being at max. What are your thoughts on this?
I used to really strictly adhere to that. I think it was Tudor Bompa that originally made that mention of that, and then Zatsiorsky followed it up, and I believe Mel Siff covered it as well. I've lost all those books, along with every other expensive book I owned, and to the unpaid storage wars of my life. But in any event, so I can't consult those books. But yeah, so the Bulgarians made a big deal about that. They said that your testosterone peaks at 45 minutes. After an hour, like, all sorts of havoc ensues. I don't think that that's the case, and it just can't be the case, because there's too much anecdotal evidence to the contrary. I mean, how many people do you guys know who train for over 2 hours at a time and they're fucking beasts? Basically all of them.
Yeah.
Everybody I know who trains for more than 2 hours at a time is a fucking monster. And I'm not saying do that every day. You're just going to drive yourself into the ground if you do. But, like, cutting your workout short at 45 minutes when maybe you dragged your ass a little bit that day, nah, it doesn't make sense. Just keep training. You'll live.
Another thing is people oftentimes basically give cortisol a bad rap. Well, it's a response to training. If you were to draw somebody's blood in the middle of, their hour and a half workout, you would see their cortisol spiking from baseline that you drew before. And then at the end of their workout, their cortisol would be high. And that's just because you just fucking stress your body out. Like, I'm sorry, but it's a stressor. And that's fine. If you have chronically elevated cortisol to the point where you're actually seeing bad detrimental health effects from it, you need to go see a doctor. Alright? As long as you're not training like a fucking asshole, you should be fine.
And there's no way that you're training so hard that you can give yourself a worse cortisol response than, say, being chronically stressed out or a new parent or something like that.
Now, see, my wife, when she was younger, she used to climb trees like a monkey, right? And she would jump out of a tree, and then her mother would tell her not to jump out of the tree. Well, she finally learned her lesson when she got these little brown spots popping up everywhere. You know what that was?
Oh, that's right. You said she got rhabdo, right?
She got rhabdo. Rhabdomyalgia.
She got rhabdo.
It is...
Rhabdo!
You're not going to get rhabdo, or you're not going to get an extreme response like that by going into the gym and training. She was jumping out of a tree. She was causing herself sheer joint force. It was fucking crazy. I mean, she was paralyzed and now she's fine, but the body's more resilient than you think. And if you seriously think that your hour or two in the gym is going to be a detriment to you, it's not. So please have that in mind and keep your nutrition on point, and you should be able to recover just fine from an hour or two workout. And that's, we have a couple more questions. I got this one. So, training while sick, what's your take on that? I got that on my Instagram.
Do it. I don't see any reason. I mean, don't. If you want to train, train. If you don't want to train, don't train. It's a matter of completely of personal preference. I had walking pneumonia for a month and trained through that. And I would just go and cough until I threw up in the parking lot, and then go back in and squat some more, and then go back and cough until I threw up again. Was it the smartest thing I've ever done? No, but I was shredded to the bone, and I damn near set a world record at 165 because I was half starved to death. So
I will say that
I ended up missing weight. I would have crushed the record otherwise.
Yeah. I will say that I went in and trained with a chest cold because it wasn't that serious. If I've got the flu, I'm going to stay out of the gym so I don't get everybody else sick. If you go to the gym and you're running like 102 fever, you're a fucking asshole. You know how many old people are fucking in that gym? You know, I mean, to be completely honest, you could have made one or two of them kill over. Please do not go to the gym if you have something highly contagious. If it's something like, you know, a little bitty chest cold or whatever, go, fine. But if it's fucking serious, stay your ass home. You're only going to come back stronger. You're only going to come back stronger. You know, time off does have its benefits. And if you had the flu or something like that, take some time off. The influenza is already bad enough. Please do not train while you have the flu. And don't get other people. Don't make it spread because it was an epidemic last year. So, I think that about covers that. One more question and then we'll let you go.
All right.
So, hearing how open you guys are about gear, what do you think about the studies on training frequencies for natural versus enhanced lifters, and does it actually matter?
Recently, on my blog, somebody posted that he thought that due to the fact that natural trainers can't lift as much volume and they have lower nitrogen retention rates or something like that, that they needed to train more frequently, which is the polar opposite of what I've heard from people normally. And I remember back when people didn't give a shit and we all just trained the same, and it worked out just fine for everybody. I also know for a fact that guys like Arthur Saxon trained for hours a day, 7 days a week, and he was one of the strongest human beings who've ever lived. So I would just go ahead and say everybody needs to shut the fuck up about who's taking what and just train. And if you feel like if you're driving yourself into the ground and it's not working out for you, maybe cut back on the volume and see what happens. And if you got more left in the tank, go harder. This is so simple. I mean, I was up watching these fucking idiots talking about how natty they were last night. Christian Guzman and Kiko, somebody fucking else. Everybody's busy with their shirts off. It's very strange. When you got two guys sitting unnaturally close to each other with their shirts off while wearing jeans, you gotta wonder what's happening when they turn that camera off. Well, I'm not wondering. I know exactly what's happening. But does anybody else wonder? In any event, yeah, they're busy talking about how natty they are. Who gives a shit? Like, who fucking cares? Natty is just an excuse to train like a pussy. That's all. The only reason anybody ever talks about why they're natty, it's because they're embarrassed about how strong they are, or they're training like a bitch. There's no other reason. If you're bringing it up in the course of conversation, otherwise, you're an attention seeker, or refer to the first two things, because there's no other reason to bring it up.
Yeah. I have to agree with you there. The merit you get in the gym is from the amount of muscle mass you have and how lean you are. If you're really concentrated about that. If you're concentrated about actual progression, like in a strength standard, I mean, there could be some variations. I don't quite know how large they are, My thoughts would be, if you are enhanced, you would want to 1-rep max less frequently due to the fact that you can do more damage because you're stronger. But at the same time, there are plenty of people that max every fucking day of their life and are just fine. There's so much personal variant in how one person to another will train and how they will respond to training, that it really would be selling that short to give you a clear-cut answer on that. You can have all the training studies you want, but at the same time, there's somebody doing this, there's somebody doing that. And I know you said, yeah, I know whatever you'll actually do is going to work the best. And that's you just answered your question for me. Whatever the work that you will do, whatever the work that you progress at, is the work that you should do, whether you're natty or enhanced. So, I think that pretty much sums that up. If you have anything to add, Jamie?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. Although, did you ever train at Alpha Elite when you were in? He was one of the goofballs that I was googling last night.
Who?
Christian Guzman.
I never trained at Alpha Elite. I don't know what Alpha Elite is.
I don't know why he doesn't sell wheelchairs. Because
he could probably get some sick branding on it.
Yeah, because I mean, it seems like everybody who is into this brand is going to need one sooner or later, because leg day doesn't appear to be an issue at his gym.
Oh, that's low. That's low.
Oh, my man, this guy, I was alerted to this guy's existence because I posted about, it was a picture of a bunch of basketball players wearing high-rise or high-water pants. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are they wearing capri pants with suits? It's nonsense. And then some kid went berserk. Like, it started in with the natty thing, and then he's going bananas, screaming about, like, how this is, like, the fashion now, and I ought to like it. And I was like, I just don't fucking like it. And then he mentions this guy, Christian Guzman, and I was like, I don't know who the fuck that is, nor do I care. He's like, well, he's rich and you're not, so you should fucking care. And I'm like, that doesn't really make any sense to me. But this guy and I would never cross paths because I don't even see how he and I we would never speak to each other in the gym. And it's not because I stomp around the gym acting like a fucking dickhead. I am stomping around the gym, but I talk to the people who actually train hard. This guy and I would never, ever speak to each other under any circumstance. Certainly not so that I could borrow a pair of pants. I would have trouble getting my arms into his pants.
Well, you don't want one of his stringers that can slowly oscillate your nipples while you're doing bench? You don't want those? Because that's some of the stuff he sells. I'm sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, his gym's in Austin. That's why I asked.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
No, it's fucking... I had an iron and floor gym. I was like at one of the many chains of Gold's Gym. And I was just completely fine with just metal and floor. So I didn't need anything fancy.
Well, you could have gotten a pair of his clay men's joggers that are showing at 2 solid inches of ankle at the bottom. And
hell yeah.
If this guy's calves are 14 inches, I will die of fucking shock.
Look, mister, I have to buy fucking jeans at like Sam's Club. The relaxed fit, like baggy shit, because my quads don't fit in those skinny jean fuckers. Little whatever.
All you got to do is go to American Eagle. American Eagle's
cheap.
Where it's at, huh?
Yeah, but I'm cheap. Are they cheap?
Christ. Yeah, they're like $35.
Oh, okay.
And they got the stretchy shit in them, so like you're not blowing out the ass on your shorts anymore. Because I've had to retire in the last 20 years, I have probably blown the ass out of like 150 pairs of shorts squatting. Because I just wear my cargos in the gym. Now that they got the stretchy shit in them, I'm just in there fucking blowing away squats all day long.
Hell yeah. You a fan of, or are you a fan of like the whole jeggings movement, by the way? Are you a fan of the whole leggings for men thing?
No, okay. I'm not. Would it have... Did you expect any other answer?
I just wanted to see your opinion. You don't like jeggings. You don't like skinny jeans. You don't like oscillating nipple stringers. Although we haven't actually confirmed that.
Skinny jeans are hot on chicks.
Okay. I'll
Quite frankly, like I did have a pair of awfully tight pants at my dad's memorial service because it was all I could find. I needed like ultra dark jeans, and so that was what I could find, and they were awful tight. I can't get into them now. It was a miracle of it was like one of those weeks when I had taken more of my calories in vodka form than food, and so I had like dropped 10 pounds, and I was able to squish into them. But yeah, it's not happening now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Last time I tried skinny jeans, it was just for shits and giggles, right? Because everybody goes to JCPenney's and just tries on clothes for shits and giggles, whatever. Like, fuck it, you know? It's kind of fun when you get bigger and try and make regular clothes fit, too. It's hilarious at times.
I had a very enthusiastic gay man offer me his employee discount on any jeans I wanted if I would try on a pair of Diesel jeans for him back in like 2001. So I pulled him halfway up I was like, bro, I don't think these are going to fit. And he was like, no, just try. So I yanked them and blew the seam out, the whole outside seam of the leg. And I was like, they don't fit. And he just looked at him and he was like, oh. And then he got this little smile and I was like, come on, buddy. Come on. Pump your brakes.
God damn.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, if you are in the market for a pair of coral colored, well, he calls them clay, although I've never seen clay in the color of pink. But yeah, coral colored joggers that are incredibly tight and will only cost you $52.
That's it.
I wonder if you pay an extra $5 if you can cover up the other 2 inches of your ankle, but maybe not. But yeah, you should go to Alpha Elite and check that out. And I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of hate mail now because I insulted Christian Guzman.
I'm sure he's a nice guy. I just, it's a little ridiculous, that's all.
Okay, if you're sure he's a nice guy, then we'll go.
Well, I mean,
we'll go with
he's
that.
Having shirtless parties with his bros at his gym. I mean, he has to be a nice guy, right?
It was actually Frank Yang and Kiko something or other.
But it was a shirtless party.
It was a shirtless party.
Come on, man. Everybody likes a little shirtless party.
Do you hang around with...
And when it turns into a little bit of touching, don't worry about it.
We all know that I've been to parties like that, but even then, we didn't... There were more naked girls in the room than in this Frank Yang video, and yeah.
When rave music starts playing and they start handing out drinks, just take it. Don't be a little bitch.
Oh, and that's the only kind of music they play in these videos too. I mean, the whole thing is so gay. It might as well be Wet and on Fire too. Just add in the gay pride parade. And again, like, I personally have absolutely no issue with that at all. It's just that all these guys think that they're like the straightest bros on the planet. And it's like,
what's that whole metrosexual movement? It's still going around. There's a South Park episode about it.
But I mean, I have a lot of friends who are heteroflexible, we'll call it, and we don't ever do that. Like, we don't ever hang around half naked. Like, if we're gonna have sex, we're gonna have sex. But it's not like willy woney. That's what it is. That must be a willy woney. Like the friends, like are the two of them gonna hook up eventually, kind of thing?
I don't know. Maybe they're on a break.
Friends? What's that?
I don't know. Maybe they're on a break.
No, that's what I think. I think they're going for the willy woney thing. Like, are they going to kiss? They are sitting awful close.
That was a Friends reference, by the way. We're on a break. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I've never actually watched that show.
Hey, I grew up in the time too. But with that being said, I would like to wrap up here and kind of give a shout out to the guy who does our intro. That is Jules, correct?
Yep.
I am so sorry for not adding your intros.
Technically pronounced Yules.
Yules?
Yep.
All right. Well, Yules, I will personally put in the link to your band today. I forgot about it. I've had a head cold. Please forgive me.
If anybody wants to Google it, it's he's Yules Borg on Facebook, and the band's called Impact 36.
Impact 36, and we will have a link to their Facebook page pretty soon. They're also going to start doing some, they're going to start recording some, so that should be interesting.
Yeah, and if anybody out there needs vocals for a slam beatdown band, Yules is definitely willing to lend his vocals to that as well.
Also,
I got Yules into slam beatdown, so I was trying to pull him away from the keyboards.
Speaking of knockouts, I would like this chance to kind of do my shill thing here. Hypnos has helped so many people get a good night's sleep, and it could help you as well. Now, towards the end of this episode, I'd like to know that you made it to the end, so if you have, please let us know with some comment or something. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, because you'll be entered into a chance to win a tub of Hypnos.
Also, Hypnos is BOGO right now. Hypnos and Predator, both BOGO on our website.
That is correct. Both spectacular products, both at www.chaosandpain.com. And I also would like to say before we sign off here that we are on SoundCloud. I'd like to mention that again. I will put the link to the SoundCloud. The videos will be up on a 3-day buffer from YouTube. So if you really can't listen to it on YouTube right now, I will have the SoundCloud link in there when it's up. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for staying with us. And I know we didn't go over the comprehensive stuff that I wanted to. I apologize for my head cold. But we will go over the sauna research, we'll go over more sleep stuff, and we will go over, I think, some more recovery tricks.
And I will also cloister myself in my basement to get away from this motherfucking bird, so I don't set it on fire.
It'll be okay, man.
It's like a screwdriver in my ear.
Just imagine that bird from Scary Movie 2 that just shat all over the wall.
Both of these birds shit on the wall. I don't know how they shit sideways. It's bizarre.
Hey, you know what? Look up the video of the bird from Scary Movie 2. That'll show you how. It's a target. It's targeted. But anyway, with that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Deuces.